This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Fiscally responsible, financial geniuses, monetary magicians. These are things people say about drivers who switch their car insurance to Progressive and save hundreds. Visit progressive.com to see if you could save. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Potential savings will vary, not available in all states or situations.
Last week was our first playoff game, and my plaque psoriasis was so itchy under all my gear. Sometimes just thinking about scratching could take me out of the moment. And then my doctor told me I could get clearer skin with a pill called Otezla.
Otezla apremilast is a prescription medicine used to treat adult patients with plaque psoriasis for whom phototherapy or systemic therapy is appropriate. Otezla can help you get clearer skin after just 4 months.
Okay, ready for the next game. Talking to my doctor about a pill was a total game changer.
Don't use Otezla if you're allergic to it. Get medical help right away if you have trouble breathing or swallowing, swelling of the face, lips, tongue, throat, or arms. Severe diarrhea, nausea or vomiting, depression, suicidal thoughts, or weight loss can happen. Tell your doctor if any of these occur and if you have a history of depression or suicidal thoughts. Live in the moment. Ask your doctor about Otezla. Call 1-844-4-OTEZLA or visit Otezla.com for prescribing info about cost, and more.
Welcome back, True Crime Army. I am your host, Margot, and this is Military Murder, a show where I focus on crimes committed by military members and veterans. But don't worry, you don't have to know anything about the military to listen. You just have to be the type of person who heads straight to the true crime genre on your favorite TV app. And if that's you, welcome home. So I have a confession. I am now officially team dog. Yep. This weekend, my girls and I welcomed a puppy into our family. Her name is Penny, and she's a toy golden doodle, and she looks like a little tiny teddy bear. I am literally in love. Listen, y'all, she's like this apricot color, and she's really mild-tempered. She just melts my heart. Now I got to figure out how to get my kids to stop touching her because she's my dog. Just kidding. No, but on a serious note, I have one child in particular who has taken possession of the dog. And I'm like, excuse me? She's everyone's dog. On the same note, now that I am a dog mom, I understand why everyone gets so upset when I cover a case where the family pet gets injured. I get it now. Yes, I do. Okay, the story I'm about to tell you today has not been highly publicized. In fact, it wasn't until Myrtle was watching an episode of Netflix's I Am a Killer that she learned about this guy and told me all about it. With that, my main source was that episode, as well as a Facebook page that is, quote, maintained and operated by friends, family, and legal advisors of Toby Gregory, end quote. There are more sources, but I'll get into those at the end of the episode. Join me today as I tell you the story of Inez Tulk. Now, let's dig in.
Military murder is an independent project and is not endorsed by the Department of Defense or any military component. The views expressed are those of the host. The content of this podcast is not meant to be legal or medical advice. Warning, this episode contains graphic details of murder and is not suitable for young listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
On August 4th, 2016, a 42-year-old Army retiree named Toby Gregory drove to a motel in Owensville, Missouri, where his estranged wife, 30-year-old Inez Tulk, was staying. The two were seeking a divorce that Toby Gregory had filed for 6 weeks prior. He filed for divorce on June 22nd. After the filing of the divorce, Inez had moved back to Arizona to be near family. But on this occasion, she had driven back to Missouri to work out a few details in their divorce settlement, specifically the custody of their 2.5-year-old son. Both had gotten out of the Army a few years prior. Toby Gregory, who we'll just refer to as Gregory for the rest of this episode, had been medically retired in 2012, and Inez left the Army in 2013. And it turns out that the pair married in 2013. However, Gregory was having difficulties adjusting to civilian life, and he was unable to maintain a steady job. He had served in the Marine Corps prior to being in the Army and had similar adjustment problems when he got out of the Marine Corps in 2005. By 2016, Gregory was unemployed, drinking heavily, and his marriage was falling apart. And on August 4th, 2016, everything came to a head. Gregory drove to the Owensville motel where Inez was staying. He broke into her room, pulled out a .40 caliber handgun, and began shooting at her, hitting Inez once in the abdomen while they were still in the room. Inez somehow managed to escape out the door to the sidewalk, but Gregory followed her and shot her 4 more times. Reports vary if she was struck in the head or in the back, but either way, with that many close-range shots, Inez did not stand a chance at survival. The bullets he used were hollow points, which are designed to inflict the maximum amount of damage by breaking apart once they enter the body. Additionally, this murder was captured on surveillance video. The following is a description of video footage taken from a camera that was in the motel parking lot as detailed in a Missouri State Highway Patrol report. The date was August 4th, 2016. This all started at about 4:40 p.m. A dark-colored car pulled into the frame on the right-hand side and parked. A male in a light-colored t-shirt wearing a hat exits the vehicle and walked toward the far last door on the left. The male enters the room. 2 minutes go by, and then a female runs out of the room followed by a male in a light-colored t-shirt. The male has his right arm extended in front of him, pointing towards the female. The female falls to the ground. The male stands over the top of the female and turns her over. This all, by the way, has happened in 3 minutes. The male then walked back towards the vehicle he drove in and places something in his right hand against the bottom of his chin. The male subject then shoots himself in the chin and falls backwards to the ground. Within 8 seconds, the male starts to sit up and then falls back down. The male rolls to his left, lying on his stomach with his head up. The male's head moves back down towards the ground. The male moves his head back up off the ground. The male rolls to his right side. The male sits up on the ground. And just 6 minutes after shooting himself, the male stands up. Then he walks out of the frame. What? There was one detail that was not included in this report. The local news reported on it at the time, as well as told by the sheriff on the Netflix show I Am a Killer. Both indicated that after Gregory shot Inez, and while Inez was laying on the ground, Gregory repeatedly kicked her. It was after he kicked her that Gregory put the gun under his chin and pulled the trigger. Well, what started out as a murder, then appeared to be a murder-suicide, ended up being just a murder, because this Marine-turned-soldier survived. It turns out that the bullet went through his lower jaw, causing extensive damage to his mouth. The gunshot blew out his front teeth and ripped apart his chin, but did not kill him, as he was able, as I just said, to stand up and walk away from the frame. When first responders arrived, Gregory was taken via helicopter to a hospital in St. Louis, where surgeons worked to literally put this man's face back together, and they did so using metal plates. Gregory, however, no longer has front teeth, and his face bears a massive scar that engulfs his entire lower left jaw. He also has a speech impediment due to the damage to his mouth. Despite his injuries, on the day after the shooting, he was taken into custody and then charged with first-degree murder and armed criminal action, and then he was held on $500,000 bond. Inez's son with Gregory was placed in the care of the state until custody arrangements could be made. By the fall of 2006, he was sent to live with Inez's dad and aunt in Arizona. And if you recall, this young boy was only 2.5 years old when his father killed his mother. After being interviewed, Gregory claimed that he didn't remember anything from that day. He said that people have told him that they saw him that day and that he, quote, wasn't right. Gregory claims that he was running on little sleep without his medication and had been drinking heavily. He says the first thing he can remember is waking up in a hospital, handcuffed to the bed, and was told that Inez was dead. In the Netflix documentary, Gregory displays a lot of emotion. He cries a lot, and he even cries when he talks about finding out that Inez had died. He said, quote, It devastated me because at first I was in complete denial, end quote. During the interview for the show, which was released in 2023, Gregory claimed that he was still in denial about her death. As soon as he was able to talk again, Gregory started claiming that PTSD was the real killer here, that without him having been diagnosed with it, he would have never pulled a gun on Inez. He said that he is proud of his military service, but he wishes that he had never joined because it's the reason he has PTSD. Therefore, according to him, it's the reason that Inez was murdered. Today's episode is sponsored by Acorns, and April is Financial Literacy Month, an entire month dedicated to taking control of your money. Because honestly, no one really taught me how to manage money growing up. I didn't learn about investing until I was well into adulthood. But what I love about Acorns is that it makes it easy to start saving and investing for your future in just 5 minutes. I know, April is an entire month, but you don't need an entire month to learn. You don't need to be an expert. Acorns recommends a diversified portfolio that matches you and your goals. You can start with just your spare change. And you don't need a lot of time. Setup takes just 5 minutes because I know that your time is precious. And if financial wellness has ever felt out of reach, Acorns makes it simple, giving your money a chance to grow without the overwhelm. Personally, using Acorns gave me the confidence to stop putting it off and just start. And that peace of mind is completely worth it. Sign up now and join over 14 million all-time customers who've already saved and invested over $25 billion with a B dollars with Acorns. Head to acorns.com/militarymama or download the Acorns app to get started today. Paid non-client endorsement. Compensation provides incentive to positively promote Acorns. Tier 1 compensation provided. Investing involves risk. Acorns Advisors LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. View important disclosures at acorns.com/militarymama.
PMS, pregnancy, menopause. Being a woman is a lot. Ollie supports you and yours with expert solutions for every age and life stage. They just launched 2 new products exclusively at Walmart. Period Hero combats bloat, mood swings, and more during PMS. And Balance Perimeno to support hormonal balance, mood, and metabolism during perimenopause. Grab yours at ollie.com. Ollie! These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Toby Gregory grew up in Bell, Missouri, which is a small rural town. He stated on the Netflix documentary that he drank and partied excessively during his teenage years and into his young adulthood, but the drinking escalated even more after he joined the Marine Corps in 1998, when he was only 23. During his time in the Marines, Gregory reached the rank of sergeant and received accolades for his performance. He also claimed that while he was in the Marine Corps, he was raped repeatedly by a female officer. Gregory said that she made him take Viagra, then she'd force him to have sex with her. She had even choked him, and on the episode of I Am a Killer, he stated that he feels that if this officer had shot and killed him, she would have gotten away with murder. Gregory is only about 5 foot 4 inches tall and weighs approximately 120 pounds. But without knowledge of the physical size of the officer, we can't assume that she had simply overpowered him. Enlisted members are trained to follow orders from officers, and they can be so intimidated by higher-ranking individuals that they comply without question. Gregory said that he filed a complaint against a female officer, but was told that, quote, men don't get sexually assaulted, and, quote, you should be glad that she's having sex with you. So the report, according to Gregory, never went anywhere. Now, I realize that Gregory is a murderer, but his story about being raped in the military, men get raped in the military every day. But nowadays, their claims are actually being taken more seriously. But I personally feel like there is still such a stigma that many male victims of sexual assault and rape still might not come forward and report. According to a March 2024 article from the American Psychological Association, women serving in the armed forces have a higher risk of sexual assault. However, men are still often victims of this heinous crime. The article stated that in 2021, 1.5%, or approximately 16,600 men serving on active duty, had actively reported that they had experienced unwanted sexual contact at least once that year. The article went on to say, quote, there is a myth that men cannot be raped, and when sexual assault occurs, it must be part of hazing. It is both hazing and sexual assault, but most do not recognize it as such, end quote. Gregory was diagnosed with PTSD for the first time after he sought treatment for his mental health following the sexual assault. Following that, in 2005, he got out of the Marine Corps. He joined the Missouri National Guard and served with them for a year from 2006 to 2007. During this time, he looked for work for over 2 years after leaving the Marine Corps, but he had a tough time finding a job in the civilian sector. After realizing that he wasn't cutting it in the civilian life, he opted to go back on active duty, this time, though, in the regular army. A year after going full-time, Gregory deployed to Afghanistan for the first time from March 2008 to March 2009. During this 365 deployment, he worked in supply and said that they came under rocket attack basically daily, which I mean, for real, that's not a stretch. On December 15, 2008, the area that Gregory was in was hit with indirect fire from a rocket attack. The rocket impacted in a bunker near where Gregory was standing, knocking him unconscious. When he came to, he was bleeding from his mouth and nose. Additionally, he was shaken up and he couldn't focus. It was this rocket attack that caused Gregory to have a traumatic brain injury, or a TBI for short. However, according to Gregory, he wasn't sent out on medevac because they needed all hands on deck and no one could be sent out. Gregory also reported claims that he, quote, wasn't acting right after the rocket impacted. Following the attack, he received a Purple Heart for his injury. Not long after his unit redeployed and returned to the States, he left for a year-long tour in Korea. He reported for that tour in August of 2009, 5 months after he returned from Afghanistan. He didn't complete the entire tour, however. In June of 2010, he was sent back early so that he could receive treatment for his TBI at Fort Carson, Colorado. But if you're tracking, he reported in August of 2009 and left in June of 2010, so really only 2 months short. During his TBI treatment, he states that he had a couple MRIs done and that the doctor noted in his file that he had substantial damage to his frontal lobe due to the injury he sustained while on deployment. Now, this is all according to Gregory. No one has seen medical reports, so who knows? But honestly, he really did have a TBI from that IDF, proven by the Purple Heart that he received. The frontal lobe that the doctor said had been damaged has a big job. So if you didn't know anything about the frontal lobe, the doctors say that the frontal lobe has a pretty big job. It manages your thinking, your emotions, and even your personality. But it also handles other important functions like reasoning, judgment, and self-control. Really, anything that requires thinking or conscious action is managed in this part of the brain, which makes up between 25 and 40% of your cerebral cortex. Some symptoms of frontal lobe injury could be noticeable personality changes. The person might have a hard time controlling impulses, and they could even suffer from memory loss. Following this treatment at Fort Carson, Gregory was medically cleared to deploy again, and he was sent back to Afghanistan in December of 2010. It was during this deployment where he connected with Inez. He felt that she had similar experiences and that she was the type of soldier that just got him. But during this deployment to Afghanistan, Gregory started displaying erratic behavior, which caused his commander to pull his weapon and restrict his movements. Gregory was sent back in August of 2011 on a medical evacuation. Upon his return to the States, Gregory was placed on a medical profile in 2011, which stated that he was unable to carry a weapon or take part in combat training. A clinical note from December of 2011 indicated that Gregory has suicidal ideations and that he actually had an active plan to overdose on his prescription medications. The psychiatry department recommended that he be assessed by a medical evaluation board, aka an MEB. A second profile dated in 2012 indicated that Gregory should not drink alcohol because of the medication he was taking. The updated profile also stated that he was required to stay within a 30-minute proximity to a medical treatment facility. It also reiterated that he was prohibited from access to weapons and even ammunition and was restricted from combat or combat-like activities. The results of the MEB, which were released in 2012, stated that Gregory should be retired from active duty. And due to the results of the MEB, Gregory was medically retired. After his retirement in early 2013, Gregory married Inez Tulk. Together they had one son. Inez had 3 sons from previous marriages, and Gregory had 2 children from previous marriages as well. Gregory had been married 3 times before he married Inez. From 1994 to 1997, he was married to his first wife. Then, from 98 to 2004, 6 years, he was with a woman who gave birth to a son and a daughter. From 2005 to 2007, Gregory was married to his second wife, and then from 2009 to 2011, he was married to his third wife. However, before this marriage in 2008, while the couple was still dating, they had a son that tragically died during birth. At the time of his son's delivery, Gregory was deployed and did not return home. This information came directly from his Facebook page, and I was unable to verify the marriages on Ancestry.com. It was while Gregory was at Fort Carson for treatment after leaving Afghanistan that Gregory started dating Inez Tulk, who was known as Nessa by her family. They actually met while they were on deployment in Afghanistan, but they didn't date until they were back in garrison. According to Gregory, they connected over their shared experiences in Afghanistan and that Inez just understood him. In 2012, after he was medically retired from the Army, Gregory relocated to St. Louis, Missouri. Around the same time, Inez received orders to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri, which was about 140 miles southwest of St. Louis.
Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
This episode is brought to you by Netflix. 3 couples, 4 vacations, a lot to unpack. Watch The 4 Seasons, a new series starring comedy favorites Tina Fey, Steve Carell, Will Forte, Coleman Domingo, and more in a hilarious and heartfelt love letter to long-term relationships. Based on the original Alan Alda film. Watch The 4 Seasons, streaming now only on Netflix.
Inez Tulk was born to parents John Tulk and Sylvia Prada on August 16, 1984. She was born in Santa Fe, New Mexico. She graduated from Santa Fe High School and joined the Army in July of 2006, serving until April of 2013. She was deployed to Iraq from July 2007 until October 2007, which was only 3 months, and she was in Afghanistan from November 2010 to October 2011, which is a 365. According to Gregory's social media page, Inez's service was categorized as honorable at discharge, but according to him, he says that she was kicked out after reporting that her squad leader had raped her. In a document on the Facebook page I mentioned earlier, it states that Inez was married 3 times before she married Gregory. Gregory claims that Inez's second and third marriages actually overlapped, which is illegal, which means that she was briefly married to 2 men at the same time, which is his claim, and there's nothing I can find that backs that up. He also claims that Inez was married to a different man when she got pregnant with this other guy's baby while she was deployed. Now, if all this is true, it may explain why she was redeployed after only being deployed for 3 months. Okay, now it's possible that her and her husband were separated and she met someone while she was deployed, but we don't know. So let me get into the legal process in this case. Gregory's defense lawyer contacted Dr. Stephen Bruce, who is a psychologist with the University of Missouri at St. Louis. Dr. Bruce has treated veterans with PTSD for a quarter of a century. Dr. Bruce was asked to evaluate Gregory and determine if the trauma that he had experienced during his military service was actually the reason behind his erratic behavior on August 4th that ultimately resulted in shooting Inez. Dr. Bruce went through Gregory's medical records and confirmed that he did suffer from a TBI during his second tour in Afghanistan. Gregory told him that he had become increasingly paranoid after the rocket attack that knocked him unconscious. The paranoia extended to his fellow soldiers, who he thought were becoming part of the enemy. It put himself and the members of his unit in danger, which probably explains why he wasn't allowed to be armed up after, during his deployment, and then he got sent home early. Once Gregory's commander saw that he was having paranoid thoughts, he removed Gregory from duty, and Gregory was shipped back home. Dr. Bruce learned from Gregory that he had gaps in his memory from that day and that Gregory was heavily intoxicated by the time he got to the motel where he broke into Inez's room. The doctor said that Gregory's psychological issues and PTSD contributed to him shooting Inez, and that if Gregory did not have PTSD, then the shooting would never have happened. He wrote all of this up in an evaluation report for Gregory's legal team, which then became the foundation for his defense. In the episode of I Am a Killer, Dr. Bruce stated, quote, "My job is not to excuse or justify the crime that they have committed. My job starts and ends with the evaluation. What happens after that is up to the judge, the jury to determine the outcome," end quote. By October 2017, Gregory was scheduled to plead guilty for the second time that year. During the hearing, Gregory's lawyer, Bryce Donnelly, went behind closed doors with the judge, and then he returned 15 minutes later. He simply whispered, "I'm sorry," to Gregory, and then he left the courtroom. Gregory was taken back to the jail, and Mr. Donnelly released a statement to the press that no plea deals were rejected, just that they needed to reschedule a new court date. Gregory remained in jail on that $500,000 bond. In February of 2018, an announcement was made that Gregory was set to go to trial in September. However, Gregory would never face a jury at trial. The defense brokered a plea deal for second-degree murder based on diminished capacity due to Gregory's PTSD. This plea deal was accepted in July of 2018. He then received his sentence in August. He received a 24-year sentence in prison for shooting Inez and killing her, with an additional 6 years added for the charge of armed criminal action to be served concurrently. Inez's aunt, Tanya, who was one of her father's sister, had taken up the responsibility of advocating for Inez with the district attorney. She was extremely disappointed at the DA's office, and not just because he accepted a plea deal, but because they allowed a plea deal to be reached. And it was really because they offered him a lighter sentence without speaking to anyone in Inez's family first. According to Missouri law, Title 38, Crimes and Punishment, effective January 1st, 2017, quote, "Plea bargain sentencing victim's right to appear or make statement notice to victim. 1. Prior to the acceptance of a plea bargain by the court with respect to any person who has pled guilty to an offense after initially being charged with a felony, the court shall allow the victim of such offense to submit a written statement or appear before the court personally or by counsel for the purpose of making a statement. The statement shall relate solely to the facts of the case and any personal injuries or financial loss incurred by the victim. A member of the immediate family of the victim may appear personally or by counsel to make a statement if the victim has died or is otherwise unable to appear as a result of the offense committed by the defense," end quote. So if you're tracking, Missouri law basically says if there is a felony that was committed, if there's going to be a plea agreement or some sort of negotiation, the victim or the victim's representatives have to be given an opportunity to respond. Gregory and Inez lived with Inez's aunt Tanya, along with their baby boy, for about 3 months after they got out of the army while they searched for suitable housing for their little family. While they lived there, Aunt Tanya's concern for Inez's safety grew. She felt that Gregory was very controlling over Inez because he told her what he wanted her to do, he told her what to eat, he told her how to dress, and it played on Inez's self-image until she started to believe that he was right and that she was never going to be good enough. Aunt Tanya also said that Gregory threatened to kill her and to kill her entire family. She said that Gregory told her that he would shoot her ex-husband, and her stepfather, picking them off one at a time from the road. Wow, this guy definitely sounds unhinged, and everything that he does after basically sounds like it's premeditated. During this time, Aunt Tanya encouraged Inez to leave, telling her that she was scared for Inez. According to Aunt Tanya, Inez said that she was scared too. In June of 2016, Inez made her move and separated from Gregory. So it's possible that Gregory filed for divorce, but Inez was the first to separate from him, but it's a little bit unclear. Over the following 2 months after filing for divorce, the ex-couple finalized their divorce agreement. But as with most divorces, custody of a child can be a contentious subject. On paper, Gregory and Inez agreed that their son would alternate his time between his parents every 2 weeks. But according to Aunt Tanya, when Gregory had their son, he didn't always get his son back to Inez at the end of his visits. Gregory was trying to keep their son from Inez and leverage control over her. Inez ended up moving back home to New Mexico, where her family urged her to get legal help with her divorce and custody battle. She ended up going back to Missouri to renegotiate the terms of the divorce with Gregory. One of the terms was for Inez to have sole custody of their son. When Inez showed up to court with a lawyer, Aunt Tanya said that it infuriated Gregory because he didn't have control over her anymore. On August 3rd, the day before her murder, Inez learned that the court had agreed to consider the revised terms that she had proposed, which included sole custody of their son. Inez texted her aunt on August 4th, saying that Gregory had gone crazy and that she needed help. That evening, Toby Gregory would shoot his soon-to-be ex-wife 6 times, ending her life.
We off? 30 seconds of carefree bliss.
Oof, like wind in your hair carefree.
Oh, like using Clorox Disinfecting All-Purpose Cleaner in the home carefree.
Yes!
Like dog slobbing on the coffee table and cleaning it with Clorox Carefree?
He's on a roll now.
Spit toothpaste on the faucet?
You got it. You got it.
Peanut butter on the light switch.
Oh, spritz, spritz.
Spritz, spritz. Clorox, man. Clean feels good.
Okay, we're back.
Use as directed.
John Tulk is Inez's dad, and she was his only daughter. When she told him that she was joining the military, it scared the living lights out of him. And it was because of the wars that had been going on in Iraq and Afghanistan. John told Netflix that he didn't have a good feeling about Gregory from the beginning. As a father, he said that Gregory gave him bad vibes and told Inez to, quote, keep her eyes open and to be careful. John said that Gregory would threaten to kill people behind their back and then say that he could get away with it by claiming PTSD. John called it his, quote, get out of jail free card. Wow, this Gregory guy sounds really manipulative. When the DA called John to inform him about the plea deal, which had already been signed, John was in disbelief that he wasn't called before they had brokered the deal. You see, he told the DA about how Gregory had bragged about getting away with murder by blaming it on his PTSD. According to John, who was Inez's father, the lawyer on the phone said that he wasn't aware of any of those comments. John was pretty ticked that they didn't ask him, Inez's father, any questions before signing the plea agreements. John said that Inez was the most important thing in his life and that it tears him up knowing that he'll never get to hold her again. He said, quote, it hurts my heart more than I could ever explain. I just miss my baby, end quote. And he said this as he choked back tears. Gregory and his best friend Jesse met when Gregory was going through one of his divorces when he was in his mid-30s. Jesse wondered how someone could be married and divorced so many times so early in his life. Jesse also deployed to Afghanistan with Gregory and Inez. After they returned to the States and got out of the army, Gregory surprised his buddy when he told him that he and Inez had moved to Missouri and gotten married. After listening to Gregory's jailhouse interview with the Netflix production team, his best friend told the interviewer that it really angered him that Gregory could blame Inez's murder on PTSD. You see, Jesse, like a lot of other veterans, also suffers from PTSD and feels that the story that Gregory gave about his episode lasting for days and blacking out was a bunch of crap. He said that the way Gregory said he was triggered, then drove to the motel Inez was staying at, was not how PTSD works. Now, let me just interject here that everyone's PTSD response is different. During the episode of I Am a Killer, Gregory stated, quote, I can understand why people might not believe that I don't remember anything from that day. I don't know if I was on autopilot or what was going on or what my state of mind was. And that is something that I'll have to live with for the rest of my life, end quote. He continued, quote, nobody is going to punish me more than I punish myself. Every day I'm reminded by the scar on my face that even though I can't remember the events, I know what took place, why I'm here. I think I should be released. I want to be released. Nobody wants to be in prison, but my intention is not to just to go back out and try to live my life. My intention is to go to the VA hospital, end quote. To me, all of this sounds incredibly self-serving. He went on to say that being in prison is another battlefield. because the treatment for PTSD inside prison is non-existent, and he can't talk about things that he did in combat. Currently, there are over 180,000 veterans incarcerated in the United States. They make up approximately 8% of the 2.2 million people currently serving time in jails and prisons. In an article published in the National Library of Medicine in February of 2020, it states, quote, "There is a need to examine this association among veterans specifically because of their unique characteristics. Veterans engaged in criminal activity are a special population with distinct needs compared with other veterans or other criminally involved adults," end quote. Furthermore, a study conducted by the VA from August of 2020 also points out a correlation between veterans with PTSD and those without. Those with PTSD are around 60% more likely to be involved in criminal activity that involves justice system involvement. Despite Gregory's claims that he cannot receive PTSD treatment while he's in prison, a quick Google search turns up several resources for Missouri inmates that include the Missouri Veterans Project, Healthcare for Reentry Veterans Program, Veterans Justice Outreach, and of course, the VA. So just so you guys know, in her death, Inez was survived by 4 sons, and she left behind a long list of family who miss her terribly. Besides her parents and sons, she also left behind a brother, grandparents, lots of aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends. On Friday, August 26, 2016, graveside services were held at the National Cemetery in Santa Fe, New Mexico, immediately followed by a memorial service that was held at the Light at Mission Viejo Church. A message left on her obituary site reads, quote, "I served with Inez and am deeply saddened by what has happened. She was a good soldier and person that did not deserve this. I am sorry for the loss her family has gone through and would like to extend my deepest condolences," end quote. Toby Gregory, who is now 50, is serving out his time at the Jefferson City Correctional Center in Jefferson City, Missouri. He will be eligible for parole in 2037 after serving 19 years of his 24-year sentence. Like a lot of inmates, he craves lots of attention, and he has a profile set up on a prison pen pal website. Shout out to the True Crime Army for always keeping me in the loop with cases to cover. I encourage y'all to keep sending case recommendations. And also, if you haven't listened to my back catalog, go back and listen. I feel like every case I have covered has twists and turns and always leaves me wondering, but why did anyone have to die? Shout out to Myrtle for researching and writing this episode. My sources for this episode included Netflix's I Am a Killer, the American Psychological Association, Newsweek, Facebook, Ancestry, Wire of Hope, Cleveland Clinic, National Sexual Violence Resource Center, Albuquerque Journal, Springfield News Leader, the Salisbury Post, Veterans Justice Commission, New Tribune, Santa Fe New Mexican, and the Gasconade County Republican. Military Murder was created by Mama Margot Productions and produced by my Patreon members. The music was created by Tyops. Until next time, remember, you never really know what someone is capable of, so remain vigilant always. You have a fabulous week, and I'll keep digging to bring you another military murder story next week.
I was working on our podcast. I don't want to.